This is how we really need to start all our streams, just Dan singing.
Hell
Well, that's how we started this one, so yeah.
Good. All right. Welcome, everybody, back to the Shield Against Midnight, a 7th edition Call of Cthulhu game set in 1969, where our intrepid Delta Green agents are currently investigating the mysteries of the UWM and the associated horrors. Last week, we had the start of quite a bit of paperwork, as well as some bad dreams had by our party's unwilling pilot, as well as some interesting discussions over breakfast, and perhaps a little bit of light shed on Miss Sage Doe's mysterious past. But without further ado, let's return to the world of the Shield Against Midnight. It is a nice mid-morning in upstate New York. The sun is out. There are very few clouds in the sky. There's a little bit of fresh dew that hasn't quite dissolved off the grass yet. And our group finds themselves spread out across a narrow one-lane road that would have otherwise led to a ranger station deep in the woods. The party had been here very recently, chased by an unknown and horrifying being that got in the minds of various party members and left some absolutely terrible memories. But now, the day after defeating such a terrible creature, they returned to the scene with other Delta Green agents investigating what had happened here. And there's a slight tapping of a pen on a clipboard as Agent Stevenson, dressed in New York State police uniform, looks to Parvana Kadavar, the current team lead of the party, and says, well, you were saying, what was it that started first? Was it the noise or the quiet?
I believe it was a loud noise first. We all hit the deck, panic, and then came the quiet.
You said you didn't hear anything, like...
Absolutely nothing. No bird song, no sound of nature, like vacuum.
Mm-hmm. And the pen scribbles and scratches across the paperwork on the clipboard. And did you see anything at that point?
At this point, no. There were others who made contact first.
Okay. The pen continues to scratch across the paper. When did you see the creature?
Clear view? I was mostly trailing inside. I didn't get a good look until much later, and she kind of motions to the downed tree a little further back.
Stevenson nods his head and looks back towards the tree. And did it pursue you constantly, or was there a lapse?
There was a lapse. We were given using some improvised tactics. We were able to shake it and make it to the cars. That's when we noticed even more disturbing silence, and until we encountered the roadblock.
Okay. And so that disturbing silence, it was there for as long as the beast, for lack of a better term, hounded you?
Correct.
And once you were out of it, once you had dealt with it and it was gone, did the silence continue for some time, or was it gone fairly quickly?
If I recall, it lingered.
Okay.
Just the feeling of, and she looks around the forest, hearing this place as it should be shocks me as it does.
He nods repeatedly, and there's a moment of silence as he scrawls out a much longer message than before on that paperwork before tapping his pen, and then he flips the clipboard around and says, "So, this is your statement as I've taken it so far. Would you be willing to sign this?" And basically he's written verbatim everything you've said. There's not much speculation until you get to the end, which just speculates that the creature had been temporarily driven off, insinuating some degree of intelligence, as well as some other conclusions that you may have been able to come to on your own. And they're under a specific section that are for his notes, not so much your statement.
This is unless you have any other clarifying questions. This seems all right.
Nope, nothing yet. I do still want to speak with the rest of your team to get their experiences. Sometimes under stress, things can seem different. So we just want to get the whole picture.
And she's like, yes. So just where do you need me to sign, and who should I get next? And she kind of rambles on and is like just kind of describing the people on the team. And as she's doing it, she's going to give a second read over to the page.
Yeah, as you give it a second read over, that's really not going to require a roll. You're literally just reading the page while, I assume trying to get any more information. What might stick out at you is that this paperwork, it's a form. It's not just a blank sheet of paper that he's filled in. It's a government form designed to be filled in and stylized. Now, the boxes on it aren't so specific as in height, weight of the creature, eye color, blood type. It's not something like that. It's typically just your name, your birth date, your position on the team, as well as some basic uh, descriptors, height, weight, skin color, and then those of which are stamped, not written in by him. It's clear that this was stamped before he came to you. And then there is the large box where he has taken your statement as you have given it.
So this pretty much gives away that he is more middleman than anything.
Absolutely.
Can I do one roll?
Yeah, absolutely. Go right ahead. What are you trying to roll?
Can I roll innuendo to see if there's anything hidden?
Sure, go right ahead. Yes, you can actually spot a language, a slight a metaphor that you is through more of his more in his section of it, where he seems to mention you, but in a subtle way that it wouldn't immediately jump out at you. And it suggests that you are of sound mind and body. You kind of get the feeling through reading this, and perhaps comparing it to some psychologist notes you've met in your field in the time, that this is also meant not just for the interviewer to record what they feel and their interpretation of the events, but also maybe evaluate your mental health and whether or not you might be giving a less than clear picture of what's going on.
All right. She's going to look up and say, "It's like, it's probably best, and I believe he was one of the first direct contacts to the creature. You probably should take Emilio's statement next."
All right, well, I can do that. I'm just going to need you to sign here on this, and then I can get a right to him.
And then she signs off on it.
And he'd smile and say thank you, and I'll have Emilio over in just a moment.
All right. She is going to try to catch Emilio's eye.
You've got a little bit of time, so yeah. If you want to try to speak to Emilio on the side, you've got a couple moments before he called over.
No, she's just gonna pretty much get in his eye shot and out of the officer's eye shot and give like just essentially roll her hand and finger in the air just to kind of give it like the waste his time.
Emilio's just sort of nervously fidgeting with a pack of cigarettes and kind of just nods.
And at this point, Parvan is going to go to prep. Would be the point where she would normally talk to Anderson, but Anderson's not here tonight, so we'll just.
Well, we can assume she's prepping Anderson and
Yeah.
just gonna do that off screen. But there'd be a moment where the officer, where Stevenson would remove the paper from his clipboard, tuck it into a manila folder very carefully that's been sitting on the dash of his police car. He would go through a similar but different manila folder, pull out another specific set of paperwork, look over it for a moment before clicking his pen and waving to Emilio.
Emilio just kind of looks at him and points at himself and stands there waiting for confirmation.
Stevenson just nods, kind of like, yeah, who else?
And he kind of points to like other people quickly in the group, then points back to himself and like looks at him like, really?
At this point, Stevenson would just call out, Mr. Vincini, please?
You mean me?
Yes, you, sir.
All right. Don't know no Mr. Vincini, but all right. And he kind of walks over and he pops his collar. What can I do for you, officer?
And there's an immediate sort of just sigh from Stevenson as he gets his pen ready to go. Just for the record, can I get your age and can I get your name and age, please?
Fuck no.
Sir?
Who the fuck are you?
Well, I'm Agent Stevenson, and I'm just trying to take a report here, sir.
No?
He sighs again and sort of lets the clipboard fall to his side and clicks the pen so it's back up. Listen, I'm not a cop. I just need to know what happened last night. It's for our records. It's kind of important.
Sure look like a fucking cop.
And he looks down at himself. Well, you've got me there. But we're on
Listen,
the same team.
I didn't see nothing. I woke up in the car. That's all you gotta know, right?
You just woke up in the car.
I woke up in the car. I was out drinking too much. It happens.
You didn't see anything.
I didn't see nothing.
At what point did you wake up in the car? Was it in the middle of the night? Was it
No,
evening?
just now.
Just now.
Just now.
Well, what about before when you went to sleep? When did you go to sleep?
Well, I think I went. I was at a diner. A couple hours. They had really good waffles, eggs. I think it has some hash browns. A little bit of corned beef hash. Why do they call it hash?
Sir, I don't need to hear about the hash.
I mean, why do they call it that?
I don't know. Listen, just are you going to cooperate?
I'm cooperating. You want to know where I was before I went to bed? I was at the diner.
Okay, so you're at a diner.
I'm at the diner. Okay, like I said, good waffles, corned beef hash, had some orange juice. They were out of milk. How's that possible? How are they gonna make fucking waffles without milk? I asked. It took 20 minutes to get the waitress over. Dehydrated milk. How you make good waffles with dehydrated milk?
I don't know how you make waffles with dehydrated milk.
Yeah, me fucking either. So we had this talk, and there was some yelling, and there was a pig there came in and pulled me out. So I went to this bar, right, down the street. Took a while, and I started ordering shots, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you need to know what shots I had?
I don't need to know.
Okay.
What
Well, I
shots you
had probably 4 or 5 shots of Jaeger. And then Angie, it popped you out.
It did? Oh,
Yeah.
hey.
4 or 5 shots of Jaeger, and then I had some vodka and some grappa. You ever had grappa?
No, I've
You
never
want some
had
grappa
grappa.
right now? He kind of reaches into a
No.
jacket. It's very good.
You have it on you right now?
Yeah.
What is grappa?
It is actually distilled from the leftover products of making wine. It's very sweet, but very potent.
Huh.
Yeah. You sure you don't want to try some?
And you actually can see on Officer Stevenson's face a brief moment where he considers it before shaking his head and saying, "No, no. Why don't you share some with your companions? I think I've got everything I need."
Well, but I haven't told you about the monster yet.
All right. Continue. So you had a couple shots of grappa.
We had a couple shots of grappa, right? Then all of a sudden people start shooting at me.
They started shooting at you.
No reason. No reason. Just normal, law-abiding citizen caught in the crossfire. And out of nowhere, bullets just start whizzing over my head. So this guy, I don't know. I think it was a cop too. Pulls me down, drags me out. I thought I was gonna get arrested, so I gave him the usual, I don't talk to no cops thing. And but he black bagged me and dragged me out to the middle of nowhere. And then strange shit started happening.
What kind of strange shits?
Well, they were out of milk, so I knew they couldn't make good waffles. So that was really the start of where everything went wrong. At this point, Emilio just kind of looks over to Parvana and gives her a thumbs up, and then goes back.
She's talking to Anderson at that point and just nods and just it's like the gif of like the kid at a computer.
Yeah. Oh man.
So anyway, we pull up and these two broads are arguing and then yelling about something, and there was a tall guy there. I don't know. They were, talking about shit, and then they were yelling at each other, and one was saying bad things, and we were in the kitchen, and then suddenly all the cutlery disappeared. It was a very weird evening. Did I mention I had a bit to drink beforehand?
You did mention that.
Yeah. Well, it really kind of skews one's perception, because then there was this loud noise, and then the generator we had to go to, and I think we had to fix the generator. Somehow there was this big fire, I don't know why, in the forest, and then we left.
Uh-huh. And anything after that?
Well, I was really hungry, so I was arguing with the group about where we should go get some food, right? And Ice, of course, said spaghetti, because when you're hungry, what's better than spaghetti, right? So, we were heading down to... No, I shouldn't tell you that. No, see, that's classified.
The place where you got spaghetti is classified.
Yeah. Good food you gotta protect.
Okay. Did anything exciting happen while you were getting spaghetti at this classified location?
Well, we were having spaghetti? No, nothing exciting really happened while we were there, really. Good food, good family atmosphere. I feel like I'm holding out on you. I'm feeling like you want to know more.
I would like to know more about the supernatural that had happened that evening.
I tell you, the wow, the ravioli was supernatural, let me tell you. It was fantastic.
Uh-huh.
I was
Big
just about to type
portions.
that. That's a dumb joke in chat.
At this,
Back to the big portions.
As Emilio is talking about the big portions of ravioli, Stevenson actually pulls the piece of paper off of the clipboard and begins just crumpling it into his hand and just calmly, with sort of a customer service smile at Emilio, just tosses the paperwork over his shoulder.
Hey, that's littering.
At which point, from behind
Officers!
Emilio, you hear Manson shout out, "What the hell? Really? And
I
Stevenson
think he's
looks at him,
destroying official evidence, Manson.
and Stevenson just looks at him. It's he's not. He's talking about grappa. And
You just hear Parvana. You mean the distilled spirit from the leftover great ips from winemaking?
Manson looks at Stevenson and says, "I don't care. I'm with the Forestry Service. Go pick that up." And Stevenson, there's a quiet moment where he looks to Manson with that very clear, "Are you serious?" Just hand gesture and facial expression, while Manson stares him down firmly, both hands on his hips.
I can get the cops. That's littering, right?
Stevenson sighs, shakes his head, and goes ahead and steps around the car to pick up the discarded paperwork, which he then tosses in the back seat of the police cruiser and throws his hands up. "You happy now?" "Yes, thank you."
But he never took my report, Manson.
"I don't think I'm going to need your report. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Vincini. Could I speak with whoever's next, please? Anyone? Weren't there more of you?"
Nah, they all suddenly vanished.
Stevenson just, now he's got his hands on his hips, and Manson kind of looks to Parvana. Is Anderson ready to talk yet, or should Sage speak?
It's really Anderson was the only one. Really the yeah. So really only Anderson was the one shaken. So it's just she's like, you can. It's whoever is next. I can get whoever you need.
Okay. Sage, would you please? That way we can shut him up.
Hey, you're the one who asked.
No, Stevenson, not you. At which Stevenson flashes sort of that hateful glare towards Manson. Just somebody, please.
Sage, I guess, is just going to strut up and automatically try to charm her way to whatever.
Emilio just takes a cigarette out and walks back to the car, talking to himself. Oh, the fuck we doing? What the easy shakedown job I've ever done.
Well, we're making friends today.
Oh, if you want to make friends, we should have done something a little different. I don't think he's ever going to talk to me again.
We're the best.
Sage is just gonna come up, and she's probably after having a night of no sleep, she's probably looking a little though she probably fell asleep in the car on the way over, so she's probably got about 30 minutes of sleep.
Yeah, you did not get much sleep last night.
But either way, she's gonna come up and she's gonna bat her eyelashes and look as cute as she can, all bedroom eyes. Let's see if it works for her.
Okay, well, you are going to take a penalty dice on that, and unfortunately, because of the penalty dice, you're going to fail that charm roll.
Oh, fuck.
Because you did lose out on a night's sleep, so you are looking a little bit more haggard than usual. As well as you're feeling a little bit more haggard.
But she has all the bedroom eyes and stuff like that.
Well,
no, okay.
Yeah, you've got circles over your bedroom eyes. Jay nailed it.
Yeah, you've got bedroom eyes as in your eyes are giving away where you want to be right now, sleeping.
Yeah. Now you can, even with the penalty dice, you could push that roll or spend luck. But you're going to take a penalty dice if you push it, still.
No, that's okay. She's apparently not going to charm her way out of a few extra questions.
Okay. Well, it just so happens that you're not on your A game, and for half the time you're trying to give the bedroom eyes to Stevenson. He's got his back to you because he's going through the car trying to get out your specific paperwork before he turns to you and offers that customer service smile. All right, for the records, can I just get your name and age, please?
Sage Doe, 25.
Okay, thank you. He seems genuinely relieved that you're cooperating with him.
Sage is gonna automatically just put both hands. You said we're sitting next to a car, right?
Yeah, he's kind of leaning on the hood of the car.
Okay, she's going to automatically put both of her hands on the back and just kind of put her ass, slide her ass up, and she's going to sit down
Okay. Kind of
as
get
cute as she can.
you'd get a little bit of a look from Stevenson, but that customer service smile doesn't ever disappear from his face. And about what time did you start noticing things becoming a little strange?
I had just been passed some paperwork, so I was not paying as much attention, probably as either Anderson or Pravana.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't notice anything strange until everybody else had left the cabin, and I
You
followed.
didn't hear any sort of. So it was when everybody else went outside. What caused them to go outside?
I guess it was a loud noise. I just like I said, I was not paying as much attention as I should have because I was reading a little bit of paperwork.
Right. So a loud noise made them go outside. All right. Scribble on the paperwork. And after that, what did you see?
Oh God. After I had gone outside, I saw. She describes as best she can. um, what was it? Just a skeleton with like random pieces of meat on it. I guess it was
Well, yeah.
huge.
It was basically a big old skeleton with some scary goo on it that had pieces of meat attached.
About shit. How tall was it again, Lucas?
I'm not sure you would be able to judge exactly, roughly how tall it. Well, let me put it this way: do you want to try to go for an exact estimate, or do you want to give them a kind of a rough estimate?
Real rough estimate.
Okay, then you're gonna say that it was just taller than an average person,
Okay.
maybe 6 foot to 7, 8 feet. You're not exactly sure, somewhere in that range.
I'll probably just it was about 7 feet, I'd say. It was definitely taller than oh shit. What's Gwen's father's name again?
Alvar.
Elvar. It was definitely taller than Elvar. Oh wait a minute. We're not are we even mentioning that Elvar was there or no?
This is somebody who would already know that, but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so it was definitely taller than Elvar.
Yeah. So there would be, he would take down your statement and then just look up at you. And what about after the group left the cabin?
Well, we were in the cars. There was as we were approaching, as we were trying to get away, there was a tree in the road,
Mm-hmm.
and that thing came back, and we had to more or less try to run it over before it went away again. I really should have reviewed the first episode of the season before doing this today.
It's okay. It was a stressful situation. Let's just say for being forgetful is in character. No big deal. Unless the GM's lying to you. But as the Stevenson would again sort of just quietly take notes as you go through everything and say, and after you killed the creature, you noticed an immediate everything seemed to stop. There was nothing else coming after you. No strange noises.
Yes, afterwards there was no strange noises. We got in the cars and we got the hell out of there as fast as we could.
Okay. And Stevenson, again, there'd be another, as he had with Parvana, there'd be a long, quiet moment as he begins writing more than just your thoughts this time. And then he would flip the clipboard around and offer you the pen. Would you mind signing this statement for me?
And again, I'm going to go ahead and read
Mhm.
everything. I take it he didn't really change anything.
Nope, nothing really deviated, and the notes at the bottom just kind of indicate that uh, that you may not have seen as much as other members of the party. It's really a bit of a short annotation.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and would I be able to do a psychology roll to try and figure out if he had anything like in between the line, what he might have been saying in between the lines or anything?
Out loud? Yes, but you're not going to. Psychology isn't really the skill to use for what's being written on paper so much. But
That
yes, if
brought-
you're trying to get like psychology to get his mood, what he thinks about it, that would work.
Okay.
Unfortunately, you're not able to get much of anything out of him.
Okie dokie. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take that pen and sign away. It's not like I'm not familiar with paperwork anyway.
Yep. And after you sign the paperwork, he'll thank you and go about filing it away in the same folder that he'd filed away. Parvana's statement before digging out another piece of paperwork and this time taking a moment to write a few things down ahead of time before actually calling Anderson back over. And once again, he would start questioning her while the rest of the party is once again more or less left alone. Manson kind of sitting at the edge of the road, butt on the pavement, feet out on the grass, and he's having just a cigarette right now. While the rest of the party is left to their own devices.
Y'all signing stuff pretty quickly.
That's just a basic it's just a basic statement for records. Anytime you see something like this, they want to get what you saw down.
Amelia, I know you're gonna hate me for saying this, but I used to be a police officer and then an FBI agent before I was a CIA, before I took this gig. I've had to deal with a shit ton of paperwork.
I'm a doctor. Nobody can tell if it's my signature or not.
Yeah, but you're
That's
not
a good.
you're not a cop anymore. See, you joined the team that knows how to take a bribe properly. Pigs always got conflicts of interest, confused whether they should take it or not, and whether they owe you something. Yeah, they do. That's why you give the fucking bribe. Government? Nah, government knows money goes. You pay for that vote.
I feel like I should be offended, but considering where I'm working now, I really can't say I am that much.
I don't even know what the fuck we're doing here. It's called plausible deniability. No one's gonna believe me if I say anything. What do they need to know? I stabbed a big old meat monster to death. Yeah, that's gonna sit so well when I have a psychological evaluation. I didn't see shit. Y'all shouldn't sign shit either.
Well, psych evaluations are usually a little less cut and dry with us. If you're not a danger to yourself or your team, they kind of let some things slide.
What person that isn't a danger to themselves or their partners is in this line of work? Manson?
That's the $100 question, and Manson kind of just sighs and takes a drag on his cigarette.
Listen, I get it. There's spooky things out there, but you can't say that everyone working for this kind of a situation is all gonna be sunshine and rainbows.
Well, yeah, that's why they let some of the stress-related stuff slide. It's the people who are digging out their own eyeballs because they got spiders behind them that fail the psych evaluations, or the people who got voices in their heads telling them to stab everybody around them, they fail the psych evaluations. People who are just a little bit stressed out and a little bit queer, they can slide on by.
You should remember this in case we...
Sage is actually going to lean just a little bit closer to base and just go, anytime you need help with stress, sweetie, I'm more than willing to help.
Manson actually looks unimpressed by that. He doesn't really seem to react at all. He just kind of looks up and he looks up towards Sage and gives her that same kind of forced fake smile and says, "I'll remember that."
God damn it. Mila just kind of smirks as Sage's attempt to charm Manson just sort of goes out the window and kind of scoffs to himself and says, "What streets did you walk as a cop?"
Sage is gonna flip him off, actually.
Well, now that we know how to fail a psych evaluation if we need that.
Yeah, no. Although I wouldn't recommend it because
What's the pension like if you fail one?
Asylum for life, free healthcare, and you don't have to worry about money again, but you're not getting out.
That's
Not a
worth
good
it.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a good deal.
Yeah, no. I can strongly say I wouldn't recommend it.
So, you got the papers you need. What else you need from me?
Well, not too much, although I was thinking after we get all our cars back to the hotel, I was going to grab you and Parvana and have a walk around the property just so we could get a brief list of what we need to make this all squared away. And after that, I think we'll be done for the day. Unless something jumps out of the shadows and says boo.
Now that you've said it.
I know, we're doomed. Might also want to think about... Well, actually, Emilio, do you know a guy that could get us some weapons?
I know everybody. What do you want?
Well, I've got a rifle. I think I'll be fine. I just need to get it out of the back of the Jeep. Oh wait, no, that one's gone. And you can see Manson's face sink for a moment. I like that rifle. Well, I could use a hunting rifle. Bolt action. I know we've got better these days, but it's what I'm comfortable with. Everybody else except Anderson lost their piece when that thing went whatever the hell. We need to get the team re-equipped.
You, a convict?
No.
Keeping you from buying a new rifle?
Well, the fact that I might have to shoot somebody on it and I don't want a paperwork trail?
You want a drop piece?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I know some people. Problem is, the crazier ones are cheaper, but they're less fun to deal with.
Well, is there some sort of middle ground, medium crazy, decent price, not too cheap?
Listen, the people that are easy to deal with are expensive. It's the ones that are cheap and reliable that are the, eccentrics.
Well, honestly, I think we should probably go a little eccentric on this one. Just because I'm already probably going to get chewed out for the hotel. I'd rather not rack up the credit card bill too high.
I know a missionary in Jersey.
That'll do. Can they have stuff ready for later today, tomorrow?
Give me a list, yeah?
Well, I just need something preferably in 30-30. That's all I need. Parvana, what's the rest of your team gonna want?
Well, I believe Sage is more comfortable with shell weapons, shotguns.
Well, she's got the one that we managed to recover from the police. She's
Mhm.
just gonna need ammunition for that, right?
All right, so you get the hunting rifle with no paper trail, and she gets one pulled out of a dead cop's car.
Fair point, actually. Yeah, we probably should. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Kind of the opposite of a drop piece.
Yeah, you've got me there. Well, then I think you're right. We're gonna need to get her a shotgun.
Emilio brings out a little black book with gold trimming and brings out a pin. Alright, now I got a list going. What the hell are we getting?
Rifle in 30-30, shotgun. Any preference, Sage?
If you could get me the Ithaca or Remington 110, 1100, that would be either one of those or both. Both
Okay.
is good, would work.
Anderson still got her gun. That's company, so I don't think that'll have a paper trail. We don't need to worry about that, right?
No.
Gwen and her dad, they don't use firearms, although we might want to get them a handgun or something just for self-defense.
I'll get something concealable myself. We could also take a look at anything we could sneak in the medical bag.
Right. So
Well-
something maybe 38 special.
Well, if y'all don't have a list, he could meet us and show us a spread. I mean, the guy's a... Well, let's just say you don't become a missionary to spread the word of God and run guns at the same time and can keep yourself on an even playing field, if you know what I mean.
Manson would look to Parvana and just kind of shrug. Spread sounds nice.
Spread them.
All right. And sort of as you guys come to that conclusion, Anderson would be finished with her interview. You could see her begrudgingly sign the paperwork and slowly return to the party, her eyes sort of averted and looking sullen. She will be relatively quiet because Kayla's not here and can't speak for her. But on that note, the party would then be free to get their vehicles and start making the trip back to the hotel. They've got a day plan, except for Miss Gwen and Mr. Alvar,
Hello.
who fell back asleep last time we checked in on them, deciding to take advantage of their day off and catch up on their rest. While everybody else was up early and getting stuff done, they did the opposite. Gwen crawled into bed with her father for the comfort of her family, while Rocket lied at the foot of the bed and provided that warm and fuzzy comfort up against their toes. And Gwen, you'd be able to get back to sleep relatively easily. Again, the most notable sensation being that warm fur of your beloved companion at your feet. Until it started to turn cold and then felt wet, and you could feel the sensation of water rising up past your ankles and to your knees, and your eyes shoot open to see you're standing in the middle of the ocean. Water everywhere,
Not a drop to drink.
and Alvar standing in front of you, similarly ankle deep in this and not sinking any further, his face contorted into a rictus of hatred. Just anger that you've never physically seen on this man's features, worn deep down almost into the bone. as he looks directly at you, Gwen, and declares, "How dare you? I had gotten myself free of this. I had gotten away clean. I was done. I was out. And you pulled me back in. How dare you, you stupid little girl? Was it so exciting to you that you could fly the world that you couldn't resist dragging me down with you? You fucking idiot. And you're so goddamn dumb that some of the answers to these questions, some of the things you don't know, are standing right there in front of you. I know them, and you've just never had the wit to ask the right question, to maybe shed some light on the fucking horrors you're dealing with. Maybe then you could unfuck some of the shit you've gotten us into." And he lunges forward, slinging more obscenities, but in less intelligible words, as he threatens to wrap his hands around your throat before stopping abruptly, fingers inches away from your neck, as that terrible grimace on his face evaporates into something more slack and relaxed. And he twists and falls, splashing into the water, his body floating momentarily face down, a familiar knife handle sticking and gleaming out of his back, before his corpse begins to sink into the ocean. And as it drops, you feel that familiar sensation of falling into the ocean yourself, the water rising up, filling your lungs, and the light shining above, glowing dark, before, with a heavy gasp, you wake up to find yourself alone in the bed.
Well, Gwen's gonna immediately jolt out of bed and start calling for her dad.
"Honey?" And you hear from the bathroom, and the door slams with the same sort of force of a man who can lift up a tree onto his shoulder. And out bolts Alvar with just a bit of shaving cream on his face and his shirt off, hairy, manly chest out for the world to see. Rocket twisting between his legs and then bolting over to the side of Gwen's bed. "What's wrong?"
And Gwen's gonna look over him, and um, at this point, her blood is up. She's fucking mildly panicked, but she can see that he's perfectly normal. And the first thing she's going to do is summon that dagger in her hand to make sure she knows where it is.
Sure. And that is going to cost you sanity. How much did I say it would
3,
cost?
if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Wait, is it 3 or is it 7?
I thought it was 3. It might have been 1d3, but there was a 3 that I distinctly remember.
I'm going to go over your character sheet real quick, because I'm pretty sure I put that there. The Enchanted Tome of St. Cunty McFuck off.
Wow.
You got a
That's
problem with my
great.
character's profile?
No, I did not. Yeah, I did not write it down. I am going to say it's 1d3, though. So it's going to
Okay.
be 1d3 sanity to summon it.
Let's see. R1d3. There we go.
All right, so you're going
Nice.
to lose 2 sanity to do that, but the
Yep.
dagger is now in your hand.
Okay, I will also make a note of that, assuming you didn't.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Let's
Give
make
me
sure to
2
put that on your
seconds.
character sheet just for future reference.
I'm putting it under cash and assets where I have written Swoop Dagger. I'm gonna see R1d3 to summon. That I typed 4. I'm an idiot. Alright, there we go.
Alright.
So yeah, she's got the knife in her hand now, and she's just gonna hold it, I guess, and because it feels better to know where it is and have control of it, so to speak, than to not.
Okay. But you've still got Alvar standing there, very manly, asking you what's wrong.
She just shakes her head and just mumbles something about nightmares.
Oh, sweetie. It was just a dream. Trust me, you've got me here. I won't let them get you for real. And he
That's
smiles.
that's the problem. Is I don't know what's gonna happen to you.
Nothing will happen to me. Look at me. And he flexes one gigantic arm.
And normally that would be enough to make her snicker, but she's just very not in a consolable mood right now.
Don't worry. We're going to relax today. It's just going to be you and me. And he sort of steps back into the bathroom, but continues to talk as he starts shaving again. Listen, Jennifer's in town. You remember Jennifer? The one you met a couple times when you were younger? Did the circus flying?
I think so.
She's in town. She's doing little thing out by out at an airstrip at the edge of town. We could go check that out. I think there's a showtime later today. Or we could go see a movie. Get some
Um,
nice lunch, have a good time. Just relax.
Gwen's just kind of staring at the dagger in her hand, fidgeting with it a bit. The airstrip sounds fine, I guess.
Okay. Well, we'll go downstairs and see what we can do about breakfast first. And as you're fidgeting with the dagger, you feel a weight on your leg as Rocket comes up beside the bed and just plops his head down right above the knee and looks up to you with big puppy dog eyes.
And Gwen would take a moment and then set the dagger aside on the bed and just kind of collapse down onto the floor and pet him and shit. And can I get sanity back for doing
Yes, you can.
that?
Rocket is one of your items of note, so having a cuddle with the
Yeah.
dog can get you some sanity back. You are going to need to roll for it. Hey, there you go.
Hey! Alright, then 1d10, right?
Yes.
She's getting
Hey!
rough.
There you go.
I'm fine! It's fine. Well, apparently she's in a much better mood now. That's a magical dog.
It is a good dog.
A good
Although,
boy, one might even say.
yes, you might even say he is a good boy. Although after Alvar shaves and gets dressed, you do have a nice breakfast, but Rocket does sit at the edge of the table and looks at the food very intensely, knowing better than to whine in the middle of a crowded restaurant, but still just intensely looking between the food and then Gwen, and then the food and then Gwen.
She would flick him little bits every now and then.
Yeah. And you would get perhaps a disapproving glare from your server, but at this sort of restaurant, they're not going to really say anything when you're paying that much to stay there. But you do have a nice breakfast, and you and Alvar make small talk about what's going on with the plane, what kind of repair it needs. You talk about what kind of plane the CIA got you, and how smooth it flies, and various other things before piling into one of the borrowed cars and heading out. And it's a short drive made exponentially longer by New York traffic to get to the airstrip. But you do eventually get there, and you find that it is kind of the definition of podunk. That the parking lot is literally just perhaps a field with some dirt that's been cleared out. No assigned spaces. People are just parking wherever willy nilly. And there's one guy who's literally parked a large pickup truck sideways. Somebody out of spite has parked in front of and behind him, trapping the asshole for taking up that much space. The airstrip is a very short style airstrip, but you can tell that it's been set up specifically just for shows because there are basically stadium style seats on either side of the airstrip, and there's only really one hangar. in which they would store the show planes. You get there in the nick of time, just before ticket sales would be done. Unfortunately, the traffic was a little bit too a lot heavier than you would have expected. But you're able to get into a seat, and you see an old-fashioned World War One style biplane roll out down the driveway, or yeah, the driveway. Just flick the fucking
Garage door. Yeah.
garage door down as it fucking heads out. Anyways, it would start taxiing down the runway. I almost said it again. Start taxiing down the runway slowly, so that the pilot, a woman you vaguely recognize, again, maybe seen her once or twice when you were younger, leans out and is waving to the crowd. A man on the announcer uh, lays out all sorts of titles: the daredevil, the daring, the unique, the spectacular. And she turns the plane around and starts heading down the runway at the opposite direction, and just cranks it up before even getting halfway down the runway. Oh, who'd we lose? Oh, we lost
Angie
Angie.
again.
Yep. Welcome back, Angie.
Sorry.
No worries. Anyways, she cranks this thing up before it's even halfway down the runway, pitches the nose way up, and just almost takes off at a completely vertical angle. The whole crowd gasps, and Alvar leans over and just kind of nudges you. That's Curtis JN4B. It's an old army plane. I don't know how she got her hands on it. Or is it a Navy one? I can't remember.
I
But
wish I knew enough about planes to actually play this character and have a conversation. I'm sorry, I fucking don't.
It's okay. It's fine. But
Whose idea was it to make me the pilot again?
you're the one who wanted to play a support character, nerd. Anyways, the plane cranks straight up, and it's exciting to see this. She does the whole gamut of old-fashioned air show tricks, including walking out on the wings while piloting it. You can see her doing loop-de-loops, barrel rolls, everything. And even though the show is only maybe half an hour, 45 minutes long, it's thrilling to see. Absolutely thrilling. It's enough to almost temporarily take your mind off the really shitty week you've had. And moreover, you've got your dad there. Alvar kind of leans over every once in a while and gives you little tips about how hard that is to do and the technical difficulties and how she has to have modified the plane to do that, and otherwise just gets really excited, almost with childlike wonder over the show. Rocket's having a good time too. But eventually the show does come to an end. Jennifer, as your father introduced her, lands the plane and starts taxiing back down the runway slowly. This time she's standing on top of the wings and waving and blowing kisses towards the audience as the plane taxis by itself back towards the hangar. And Alvar starts to get up and holds his hand out so that he can clear a path for Gwen to get out. And once you're out and back into the parking lot, uh, there's a bit of a crowd milling around on the dirt field. You can hear somebody cursing and screaming about their fucking truck getting blocked in. But Alvar just looks to Gwen and says, "You want to grab some lunch?"
And she would be in a much better mood now, not fully restored to her usual demeanor just because, I don't know, she's has had trouble sleeping and everything. She's a little bit low energy right now, but other than that, she seems to be doing all right. And she would, nod and be like, "Yeah, where you want to go?"
I don't know. I was thinking there was a diner I saw on my way back here, but what about you?
That sounds fine.
Okay. And you would wait a moment to let most of the crowd filter out before getting in the car and driving off for yourself before heading to the aforementioned diner. It's one of those old style Americana diners that's just Beatrice's American diner with the counter running alongside the kitchen so that you can look in and see everything that's going on with the cooks. It's got booths lining the outside wall, a menu of the classics, hamburgers, hot dogs with huge milkshakes that you can see being doled out by waitresses in cute little pleated skirts. It is that old-fashioned slice of Americana. Alvar would struggle to get in one of the booths before lifting up a menu and just, what do you think you'll have?
I don't know. I bet the burgers are probably good here.
Absolutely. Actually, excuse me for a moment. I'm gonna just run to the little boy's room. He sort of struggles momentarily, kind of trying to squeeze his way back out of the booth before mm, making a hustle on towards the bathroom. And you're left
Gwen
alone with.
just call after him like, you probably should reconsider and head to the big boy's room.
You can hear him chuckling as he walks down the aisle and vanishes towards the bathroom. And leaves you with a moment to yourself. It's quiet. The diner is not particularly busy at this right now, but you do hear a bit of conversation between the waitresses and the customers, and there's always something going on in the kitchen, pans banging, something sizzling. It is nice and pleasant, which makes it all the more jarring when someone in a pleated skirt steps up towards your table and says, "What can I get you?" And as you would look to this person, you would find that their face was missing. And unlike some of the creatures you've seen in the past where it was a gaping hole, no, this is simply a solid wall of flesh, a simple blank slate where their features ought to be, standing casually at your side, hand on the hip, with a little notepad in hand.
And Gwen would kind of go a bit rigid upon seeing this. And um, how is Rocket doing?
Rocket isn't paying attention at all. He's under the table, curled around sort of your feet defensively. But, head down, not growling, not looking about. Not a care in the world for the doggo.
Well, she's gonna take way longer to respond than is socially acceptable. Just kind of staring, and then she would just kind of very
As
tightly respond something about like, I need more time.
as you're taking your time, and the thing in the pleated skirt would just, is something more, the words sort of disappearing into this strange, strangled cry that you would expect out of a creature with no mouth. The jaw moves up and down, but everything is muted and fleshy and muffled. And as this thing kind of starts as if it's going to ask you if you're all right, a man at the counter surrounding the kitchen who'd been reading a newspaper sort of lowers his newspaper and turns back to look at you, and he too is just a blank slate of meat. And with that blank slate of meat, he momentarily regards you before making a gesture, something like a scoff, and flipping his paper back up and going back to it. And a waitress passing by behind the one who is now looking at you more intensely than before, similarly has no features, who serves a tray of burgers and fries with a big chocolate milkshake to creatures with no features. and they hold these things up to where their mouths ought to be, but the meat patties just kind of press up against flesh and leave greasy trails all over their pink skin, the shake spilling down their neck and throat and staining their clothes. The thing in the pleated skirt repeats its question, now completely muffled by the flaps of skin and muscle.
Upon seeing more of these, Gwen just drops her gaze to stare at the table between her hands and just mumbles something about leave me alone.
There's another gross meat flapping noise from this thing before you feel a weight on your shoulder, like an iron or like an anvil dropping. And it feels just tremendous, like it's crushing you. And if you lifted your gaze, you would see an enormous hand, one that completely dwarfs your body, being pressed down on your shoulder by this monolith of a creature, now staring, looming down at you like a tower.
Well, Gwen's been really good about trying to hold her shit about this, but at that point, her reflexive response is to jolt away and uh, like when you say it's big, how big we talking here?
Massive. So big that it almost couldn't possibly be human.
Yeah, she's at this point just gonna jolt away and probably practically tip the table over in her efforts, because if it was coming from behind her, then her only way to go is basically into the table. So
As you jolt away and basically press yourself up against the window of the diner, the thing reaches after you, chasing you further into your seat, both monolithic hands now coming after you and reaching for your shoulders, again, to grab you in this firm, iron-like grip that won't let go.
I mean, at this point, she's gonna just be in very much fight or flight mode, and just if her back is pressed against the window, she's going to like bring her legs up and kick at this thing and yell at it to let the fuck go over.
Go ahead and roll a brawl for me, please.
I know exactly what's happening, so I do this with a heavy heart.
It's all right.
I fail anyways.
You kick and you flail and you cry out in the diner before finally those those muffled meat flapping noises start to turn back to words in your ears as you hear the calming voice of Alvar. Honey, honey, calm down. It's just me. It's just Dad. And when now your gaze slightly more lucid, you look down the table and you can see your father was simply reaching out towards you. Sanity check.
Yep. Hang on. Good thing I
Wow.
It's a really good thing I stocked up before leaving.
Yeah.
Christ. All right, have fun with that. Jesus Christ.
I'm gonna need 1d4 plus 1 out of you.
Yeah. 1d4 1.
Okay. You're going to lose 4 sanity.
All right.
And at this point now Rocket is at full alert. He's come out from under the table and he's just kind of low boofing at you to try and, he can tell that you're distressed and he's trying to get your attention while Alvar looks at you with pleading eyes.
Gwen is gonna, as things are turning back to normal for her, just kind of slowly calm down a little bit, but still very distraught. And she's going to barely relaxed enough to kind of sit back down. But she's not saying anything at this point.
Are you okay? What happened?
She just has this kind of incoherent mumbling that sounds distinctly like she's talking about nightmares again.
Sweetheart, sweetheart. Maybe we should go back to the hotel. Are
She
you okay?
hesitates before nodding a little bit and just saying, "Yeah, let's go."
Okay. And Alvar kind of puts an arm around you as the whole diner now, basically the entire place has stopped and is staring. Now, completely normal people, but they are all staring as you slowly walk out of the diner. Alvar using the bulk of his body to shield you from their judgmental glares as you leave. However, as you step back in the car and Alvar turns over the key and the car starts and he begins backing out of the parking lot, you kind of cast a glance back at the diner and see more of these people, just their eyes pressed up against the glass to watch you go. But one person there wearing older clothes, looking a little bit ratty, perhaps disheveled or dirty, staring out the glass, looks to you, and they still have no face. Just that solid mask of meat. And you only see it for a brief moment before the car pulls out of the parking lot and is gone, and you're heading back down towards the hotel.
Gwen is going to keep her eyes in her lap the rest of the travel.
Okay. Well, while Gwen was having an exciting lunch with her father, the rest of our group are going to be pulling up to a cab company. Actually, I take that back. It's just Emilio and Parvana who are going to the cab company. Everybody else would be left behind at the hotel with the cars.
Left behind.
Yep. Really, though, that just means Sage and Anderson, who's not here. But Parvana and Emilio, you all would be piled into one car. Manson would briefly offer to drive before just looking at Parvana and being like, yeah, that was stupid as soon as I said it. And then he would get in the back of the car and you would drive downtown where you would find a simple yellow taxi cab company. And it's basically it almost looks like a derelict parking garage that somebody built and then abandoned, and then somebody slapped a sign on it that just said taxi in big crappy lighted letters where half the bulbs on it don't even work. And you would pull up into this parking garage to find it full of, shockingly, taxis.
Well, I like the branding. It tells us what we do.
Well, you said nondescript. This is about as nondescript as they make them.
You are not wrong, Emilio.
Yeah, it works. Plus, it looks like wouldn't be too expensive to buy this place. What is this? Somebody abandoned this project?
No, just wasn't fully utilizing its resources, and we convinced them that it would be more profitable to summer in Florida for a few years.
Fair enough. All right, well, let's find the office. Manson would open the car door and step out. And sure enough, this building is built more like a parking garage than a true taxi company, as the office is a very small room right near the entrance of the building. which normally might be somewhere they might take tickets or pay things out, but it doesn't look like it's got more than 2 rooms to it, one of which is a bathroom. And the small space that you knock on the door of and are ushered into just has a couple of desks in the middle of the room with some old-fashioned paperwork, a couple of typewriters, and just filing cabinets everywhere, lined around the walls of the room, all overflowing with the most poorly organized paperwork you've ever seen. You get the distinct feeling that if somebody had just taken these stacks of paper, thrown them at the wall, and some of them landed in manila folders, it would look better than this place. But
I-
no, go. Sorry, don't mean to interrupt.
So yes, I can see why these resources weren't being fully utilized.
Listen, the easiest way to hide something is in plain sight that people don't want to do the work to find.
Oh, absolutely. It's quite easy to find something meticulously organized.
There would be a flush from the adjacent bathroom before a large, portly man with dark skin steps out, still fastening his belt, and seems a little surprised that you're here. He jumps and then looks to you with wide eyes before just sighing, "Oh." And he finishes doing up his belt. Here to sign the papers?
Oh, I've been advised to be careful of signing anything. I'm here to take a look around and read over the paperwork.
All right, this. I'm Sanchez. This used to be my. Well, this is my cab company. Uh, please, what can I show you?
Oh, let's see. So I see this is the office.
Yes, I do most of the office work here myself.
You have your cash office in here as well?
Mm-hmm. He kind of walks over to one of the filing cabinets and kicks the bottom drawer, and out pops a a drawer that's got a cash box in it and some basic uh, billing forms and paperwork.
So Sage was just not invited to this, right?
No, you're back at the
Damn.
hotel. Relax.
Emilio just pulls out a cigar cutter and a cigar and just sort of slowly goes about getting it ready.
Mm-hmm. And I see. And do you do dispatch or do you just take care of the lights with the city? Have them bring you money?
I do dispatch. Everybody at the end of the day comes through in here. Or what? How do you mean?
Do I mean, do you do any direction of the cabs or do you just let them go wait to get hailed?
Oh no, we just let them get hailed. We don't have much equipment.
Understood. No radio?
No.
How many cars do you have?
At the time, 35. Although a few need some tune-ups before we can put them back on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Emilio just kind of takes the cigar and very loudly with the cutter cuts the tip off. He doesn't say anything. He just sort of hangs back and is going through this ritual.
The man loudly, visibly, not loudly, flinches at the sound of the cigar cutter going.
Mm-hmm. So you have no dispatch. Work. Your catch office is there. And 35 cars, not all on the road.
No.
of that of how so 35 cars, 35 lights?
No, actually, we've got 42 lights.
Emilio
Oh.
lights the cigar with a very loud pop hiss of the cigar lighter.
Once again, the man flinches and kind of throws a sheepish look towards Emilio.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. How about you show me around the property?
Sure, sure. He says quickly, and he kind of gives a wide berth to Emilio as he steps around the desks in the center of the room to get to the exit, instead of taking the shorter path straight to the door. But he would go ahead and hold the door open for Parvana before closing it quietly behind him, leaving Emilio and Manson alone in the office.
Emilio follows. The door closes and then opens again, and there's the sound of a long draw on a cigar, long enough that it would burn past the initial leaves so that it will stay lit. A fairly long trail of ash on the end. Emilio follows them quickly.
He gets kind of a glance from the owner as Sanchez looks behind him and sees that Emilio is following them. He would sort of lead. First, he would lead Parvana to up one flight of stairs to where their fleet of cabs was kept.
All right, so she's going to take a quick count of the cars.
She's going to find the count accurate. There are, in fact, 30 cars on this floor, and he would quickly explain that the two ones that aren't working right now are downstairs. And you would have seen them on the way in, and they would be in various states of slight disrepair. One of them needed a new paint job. The other four looking like they might need a little more serious work. One looked fine, but you could tell since it was with the others that it probably had something wrong with it under the hood.
And do the ones just from taking kind of like a walk up and down, could you spy anything out of order with any of these? Any oil spilling out from underneath? Any flat tires? Any?
Nothing that would jump out at you, unless you would like to take a closer look.
She's gonna take a closer look at some of the cars.
Okay, describe to me how you're taking a closer look. There's a few skills that might apply here.
All right. Well, I'm gonna say that she's mostly just going to, like, once again, because there's, as you said, there's 30 odd cars up here.
Mhm.
Mostly she's, as said, gonna look for those like telltale signs that something is misaligned or spilling, or that more than anything, especially considering both, considering that she's been in this business before, essentially looking for the telltale signs of how people hide disrepair to pass inspection.
Right, of course. Okay, then that's mostly going to be a spot hidden. That's not so much mechanical knowledge as just looking for obvious flaws. You actually don't spot any of those problems. As you're going through, you actually spot that while at first glance this place may seem like it's in disrepair and run down, it definitely looks like the cars, of all things, are relatively well taken care of. It's not the best you've ever seen. This isn't a valet service where we're treating limos to a higher end clientele, but actually, these are better maintained than the cars that you drove previously. They are a little bit dingy on the outside. Maybe a car wash wasn't the top priority for all these vehicles, but their health was pretty well covered.
Do you have a do you have an on-site mechanical staff, or is this do you contract out?
No, we contract out. And he sort of stammers and stutters for a moment while this time throwing his look fairly obviously towards Emilio.
Emilio just kind of looks to Parvana. So the car's good?
The cars are excellent.
So excellent cars, piece of shit location, low-key advertising. Pretty good, right?
It's very good. Nah,
Emilio just
I
kind of
do
walks over to Sanchez and puts his arm and just they're, smiling and laughing. Hey, this is good. You'll do well.
Oh.
And just as Sanchez literally starts to laugh, Emilio, with rings on hand, just sucker punches him straight into the gut. Just as hard as he physically can.
Okay, can you roll damage for me? Oh, wow. So not Emilio, Sanchez is on the floor holding his stomach and just whinging. You have knocked the wind out of this guy, and he is. There's tears.
Emilio walks over, grabs him just under the arm, and drags him over to one of the vertical supports of the thing. Out of the way of the view from anyone on the street, since I'm assuming we're on the second or whatnot level.
Yep.
And just pins him up to the wall and says, "Who the fuck are you hiding this shit from?" You think I don't know a cover when I fucking see one? What the fuck are you running? And for who?
Mostly all you're going to get out of him for the moment with how hard you hit him is just coughing and sputtering.
Is Manson or Parvana gonna intervene on the fact that this guy literally just possibly broke this man's sternum?
Story checks out.
Kind of pinned to the wall, Emilio kind of winds up to give another hit, wait, and just sees if the guy's gonna start giving information freely or if he has to beat it out of him.
He is trying. He puts his hands up defensively, not so much reaching to strike back, just to try and cover his face, and shakes his head, but he's not able to form words just yet. He continues to try and just ends up coughing and spitting. And there's a brief moment where I'm going to need a dexterity check from you, or you're going to get vomited on. Or a dodge check.
That's an extreme.
Yeah.
He's done this before.
Yeah, you're able to get out of the way before he falls to his knees and just completely empties his guts on the pavement.
Emilio just Dragon Ball Z dodges.
Yeah.
After image left there, just vibrating slightly.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Can also just point out that his punch with quote-unquote rings did more than Gwen's point-blank kick that completely fucking missed.
Oh, man. Yeah, wow. He hits like a fucking freight train.
I don't think Gwen's even done that kind of damage yet. Can I have your punching power? I kind of need it for my character build to make sense.
Yeah, build is good.
See, I'm really trying hard not to say Malkesh. Emilio picks up Sanchez and pins him up against the wall again. Okay, you've got that out. Now let's spill the other sort.
Come to us with stolen cars sometimes. We switch the parts around.
A chop shop and an open walled thing. Try again.
No. This isn't the chop shop. This isn't the chop shop. They bring parts to us.
Who?
It's one of the gangs.
One of the gangs. Emilio just kind of looks to the side, looks and says to Parvana, "One of the gangs," kind of in a sort of a joking term, and leans and turns back and punches the man in the gut. Not as hard this time, though. In fact, if you don't want to have that do damage, I leave that to you. But
and then he dies.
Yeah, you're not trying to hurt him.
No, the first one was to hurt. The next one is literally just to.
Yeah, no.
Which one of the fucking gangs?
And he doubles over again, holding his gut, and he just kind of whinges and coughs a moment longer, thinking, and you can see that he's trying to get the words out, but not quite doing it as quickly. Although he takes less time to recover than he did last time, and he just leans, he falls. His brain dies, and he has an aneurysm there on the floor because the GM's an idiot who can't get the words out.
Emilio dumps him in the trunk of a taxi.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I was going to ask if the taxis were unlocked.
The taxis are part of the product. We don't want to get them hurt. Otherwise, I'd use a car door.
Oh no, Piranha was going to pop a trunk.
God, you're taking Jesus.
No, it's just, Emilio, if he can't remember which one of the gangs, she goes to Mason. If he can't remember, we could take him for a drive to refresh his memory.
No.
Down.
No.
Maybe down by the docks.
No, we don't need to take a drive. We can do it right here.
Valensas. The Valensas.
That sounds like a nice family-friendly group of street thug.
They're trying to get in the car game. We were helping them.
Are they gonna show up now that you've sold the place?
No, they're not gonna know.
So you're saying you haven't told them that you're out?
I haven't had much of a chance. You said you had your guys over here last night. They beat the shit out of me. Now you're here. Now you're beating the shit out of me. I haven't had much of a chance.
You know, some people just can't be fucking motivated. And Emilio reaches into his vest pocket and brings out his knife and flicks it open. Bonus round, hotshot.
No,
what motivates
no.
your little street thug ass to get things done on time?
Oh, Jesus Christ, don't fucking kill me.
What, this? You can get your ass beat multiple times and that doesn't motivate you, but this little tiny blade motivates you?
Fucking hell.
He kind of brings it up against his cheek. What are we gonna do with you? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do when the Valencia? And he kind of drags the tip of the knife across his cheek as he points back towards the street area. Not enough to, like, cut into the cheek, but enough to sort of scrape along the skin. What are we gonna do when they come asking for here? How many resources am I gonna have to pull to come in here and keep this place safe?
I don't fucking know, man. I thought you were trying to shut them down. I thought you were trying to shut them out. I thought that was all this was. I don't know, man. I just deal with the cars.
Do I look like a street thug to you? Do I look like I want some peddly car work in this town? Does this suit, and he kind of uses the knife to point down his, does this suit look like it came from robbing cars on the side of the street?
Fuck, I don't know, man. You're the one. It was your guys who showed up. I don't know what you do.
Damn
don't know
fucking
anything.
right you don't. Now I think we need to have a very... What's the word? Parvana, what's the word for something quick?
Oh, expedient?
We need to have an expedient renegotiation. Because I am unhappy with the terms. I send my boys down here, they talk to you nicely, and I gotta come in here. And you can see him frustrated, sort of shaking the knife in the man's direction. I gotta come in here and clean up this mess by myself? Because you're not working by yourself. You're not a hard-working American. You're just making money on the side.
God, keep that knife away from me.
You want this knife away from you? And he brings the knife in close. Does this knife do anything for you?
No, please.
This scares you? And he folds the knife and he puts it away, and he just punches the guy in the gut. I don't need that fucking knife to end you. And he picks the guy up by the back of the neck and slams him against the concrete thing. Now we're here to sign
That-
some fucking papers.
Hold up.
Okay.
Do you want to inflict damage with that attack?
I kind of wanted to knock his head forward, but I don't want to kill him.
I'm going to need a brawl roll. And if you pass, you just knock him around, you get your intended effect. But if you fail, you're doing damage.
I succeed.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Even
Then
with
yes,
the penalty, I succeed.
Then, yeah, you basically have enough control of yourself that with your attack, you're not killing this man. You're just beating the hell out of him.
And he reaches back into the thing. Now I've got in here 2 things that should scare the shit out of you, and we're gonna go with the scariest fucking thing I got on me. You understand?
Yes.
And he
Yes.
reaches into his pocket and he pulls out a gold pin. Now we are gonna
Oh,
go in that office
fuck.
and sign some fucking papers. You got that? Capiche?
Yeah. Yeah.
He literally shoves the pin into the man's pocket and pushes him forward towards the office.
And Sanchez stumbles as he's pushed before not running, but he's walking towards the office faster than just a casual gait. And at this point, with all the raised voices and shouting going on, as you come down, you find that Manson has stuck his head out of the office and he takes one look at Sanchez and then looks back to Emilio and Parvana and doesn't say anything. He just quirks an eyebrow.
Emilio just dusts his jacket off as they follow behind Sanchez, and Emilio looks over. I think you'll find his terms are a lot more workable this time around.
Manson looks to Parvana.
Look, I'd like to know where he's keeping all this. Problem with this open-air building is we're supposed to be moving things ourselves. Where do we store anything? If there's on-site storage that he's not telling us about, we should find out.
Don't worry, we'll get it all out. We'll have him list all his assets. On top of that, I think it'd be pretty easy to put up some thin walls, privacy walls, like plywood and whatnot, just to, give us a little bit more privacy. Maybe put some advertisements on them.
That could work, but to be honest, if these taxis are already moving away to hide the fact that they're moving chopped parts, that works in our favor. Both looks to somebody who doesn't know better, like taxis moving around, and to anybody who's used to things at street level, same as it's always been.
Yeah, he did us some favors. I'm still not gonna let him get away scot-free, though.
No. As said, we need more assets than this. We need warehouse space. We need to know the entire cycle of this. We need to make sure that we don't have street gangs showing up in the middle of the night.
I think I remember something about a bomb shelter, too.
Bomb shelter?
Yeah, when I was talking to one of my guys, they said the old building used to have a bomb shelter.
Now that is incredibly useful.
I thought you might like that.
Not shortly after you would say that, the door would open again and Manson would step out of the office, closing the door behind him. You're right. Those terms were very agreeable. I trust you had a good talk with them?
A little heart to heart.
Well, for my conscience's sake, I'm not going to ask what you said.
I just simply instilled a sense of patriotism in him.
That's very good to hear from my conscience. Thank you.
Emilio smiles.
Well, we've got the paperwork. This place is legally ours now. Anything else we need to do before we start getting the hard work?
Decide if the street gang is usable, or if we're going to do a little freelance police work.
Street gang.
Valencia's. Apparently, they had a deal with Mr. Sanchez in there.
Ah, shit. Okay.
Well, if there's a way we can still keep rotating their product, it can hide our own.
Might also solve our storage problem. If they're... So what they're doing, they're moving parts through this place?
Now listen, you need to be careful. These street gangs don't follow rules. They don't have a code. They're just in it for the money, and they will turn on you quick.
Right, right.
You don't want to rely on them for storage.
No, it's not. We don't want them. We don't want to rely on them for storage. We just need to keep. We just need to keep their racket up, so that, as said, it provides 2 layers of cover for our own.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Well, unless this place is... Well, we are going to need to look into storage. This place is good for moving people through and being the first drop-off point, but we're going to need some place to put stuff for more long-term.
Exactly.
I've got some experience with warehouses, if that's what you're looking for.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons your profile jumped out at us, speak.
Obviously
I
for
know
my
you did.
legitimate uses, right?
Well, no, for your patriotic acts during the Second World War.
Really wish you wouldn't have brought that up, Manson.
I'm
Government
sorry?
still owes me a significant pension check.
Really?
Seems a lot of things are getting lost these days. What with the anti-war attitude in Washington.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Poor Vita
Well.
can barely keep herself dressed with what we're getting. Wonder if you could look into that for us.
I'll be able to pen up a letter if you tell me exactly who to send it to. A strongly worded letter.
I can think of some names.
I'd be happy to help you out. All right. Well, do we want to have one last look around the property, or are we good to go for tonight? For today?
It wouldn't hurt. Let's go look at the breakers first.
Right, of course. And... Well, Jay, actually, you know more about electrics than I would. Where would the breakers be on an old 2-story parking garage?
Well, is there a basement?
Yes.
Probably be at the basement street side.
Okay. Well, you would have sort of a brief look around the area before realizing that in the stairwell and up on the stairs and in the office, you don't actually see the breakers, and you don't see an obvious way into a basement either. In fact, it does seem like it does just have a this is just a 2-story building. But you distinctly remember your guys talking to you about a basement. You even mentioned it already. But the entrance to it just kind of eludes you temporarily.
Alright, what do I need to roll?
Okay, let's see. Well, describe to me how you're looking for this. If you're just going to have a look around, that's obviously spot hidden. But if you're going to try and use your knowledge and what your guys told you, that's going to be more intelligence-based.
I mean, I'll roll intelligence.
Yeah, thinking if there'd be a specific knowledge or if that'd just be straight intelligence. I'm thinking that's just straight intelligence, yeah. Okay. You don't really... You're kind of at a loss until you kind of go out behind the area. There's an empty lot behind the building that's been walled off. It's part of the property, but it's basically just, for lack of a better term, a backyard. You know, maybe a retail development would have gone up there or something, but it's never been used, so it's just got a chain link fence around it and some pointy bits at the top to discourage people from jumping over. And the lot is just dirt with a few sparse patches of grass, but there's a couple of things thrown up at the like plywood boards and some other trash. The actual dumpsters are out behind the building. And you think about it for a second before sort of kicking over one of the plywood, and you find an outside stairwell that leads down into the basement that's just been kind of, I wouldn't say lazily covered up, but just it's not it hasn't been too much effort to hide these outside stairs. And they lead down into the basement where there's it's immediately very dark, but a quick just groping around you would find the light switches on the wall, and flicking them on would reveal a massive storage, well, not massive, a large storage area, basically the same floor dimensions as the parking garage above, in just empty space.
After using the lighter to find the switch, he just kind of looks around and goes, "Damn, I'm good."
Well, fuck.
You do see some car parts strewn about here and there, basically everything that can be carried by a person, since you're not going to be able to lift an engine out and bring it down here. But there's car parts strewn about the room in varying states of newness and care. But you'd also be able to find the breakers in this room.
Alright, I'm going to roll to make sure everything's the way it should and they haven't been, like, just throwing wires into it and those sort of things.
Sure. It's not pretty, and you can tell that the person who did this isn't necessarily the most trained electrician. You have a feeling that if this is since this this is a gang location, that they probably did it in-house with one of their buddies. But it works, and it has no danger of breaking anytime soon.
This equipment is shit, but it should work. You're still gonna want someone to come in here and do it proper. Preferably somewhere you can trust. Doesn't like to talk, those sort of things. I might know somebody.
I had a feeling you might say that.
You're also gonna want to find some way to fill up that backyard. You got too much line of sight. Too many higher elevations able to look down into it.
Well, what's your idea?
Well, you could get one of those, like, 10 by 20, like, tarp covered frames they use for, like, employee rest areas outside. Cover up this part over by the stairs immediately. That'll get you at least some cover for this entrance. But for the rest, trees or cargo containers would be my guess. Cargo containers would give a little more storage space. That'd be nice.
Cargo containers sound good, plus the rest area?
You also might want to incorporate it as a partial freight company as well. Dispel some of the suspicion about storage back here. You can move things more easily. You'll have the papers if you do actually need to receive a large shipment or something like that.
Well, are you... If anybody knew about that, it'd be you.
Emilio just smiles. I know.
Manson chuckles. All right. I think this'll work. Parvana?
It even has the storage on site.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're going to hear from Mr. Sanchez for a while. So that's good.
No, I think he'll be taking that vacation to Florida for a few years. Well,
Ah, son of a bitch, he took my pen.
all right. On that successful note, I'm going to go ahead and end things for tonight. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. I hope you have a good evening, and please tune in this Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern, right, Dan?
Yes.
4 p.m. Eastern for Voices in the Wilderness, a 13th Age game. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.